Hello, welcome back to Life on the Fringe. Today I wanted to do a video about gay literature, some books that I've read and would recommend, as well as some ones that I've picked up. I made a video about this a while ago where I had bought a bunch of books and read them and gave my opinions on them, as well as some books that I had bought but hadn't gotten to read yet. If you want to check out that list of books, it'll be linked up here. But today I wanted to do something a little bit different. So Stan and I have been traveling up the East Coast and down the East Coast because we've had some weddings and some different events going on in our lives, and I am a big fan of bookstores. So when I've been going to these bookstores, I've been trying to see what their selection is of LGBTQ plus literature. So this could be literature that has a gay character either as a side character or as a main character. It could be a romance novel, etc. And it was actually really difficult to find in these local bookstores. Even in Provincetown, Provincetown, Massachusetts, which is kind of known for how liberal and gay it is. There are pride flags literally everywhere. While I was there, I did pick up a couple books. So I picked up The Off Season, which actually takes place there, and it follows some lesbians who are friends. The two of them start off as a couple, but then kind of grow apart, and different friendships develop, and they're trying to rekindle a romance, but not really. I wouldn't say this book is like a happy ending book or that there's no cheating or anything, but it is like a slice of life type book where they deal with real problems. Like one of the characters had breast cancer. So if you're interested in that, The Off Season. While I was there, I also picked up The Escort's Tale, which is a romance novel. The main character is a bisexual and sex worker, and he is hired to help reconnect a husband and his wife after the husband has suffered from paralysis from the waist down. So anyhow, and it's a romance novel. There's love, there's steamy scenes, but it was cool to see it in there, even if it does have the trope of a bisexual playing a third in a relationship. It's okay. As a bisexual, I approved this book and it was good. And then when I was in Massachusetts, I went to a different bookstore and found this book, The Gunkle. I haven't read this book yet, but it's about this uncle who is kind of tasked with taking care of his niece and nephew after their parents end up in an accident. So it's less romance novel, more about family and so this book, on the inside cover, it says, "With humor and heart, The Gunkle is a moving tribute to the power of love, patience, and family, even in the most trying times." And it kind of talks about the Gunkle learning how to be a parent and the difference between parenting and being an uncle and having responsibilities. And I don't know how I feel about that, but as a theme. But I was interested enough to pick it up, and I'll probably give a review on it once I've read it. But I wanted to highlight that there are different types of books before moving into my main point, which is finding LGBTQ plus literature is really hard, especially in local bookstores, even in liberal areas. So in areas that are more conservative, finding these types of books can be really difficult. And while we've seen a lot of improvement in terms of TV shows and characters having more representation, in books, having access to that seems to still be an issue. But one way that I've accessed a lot of books and that I would recommend is through the Amazon Kindle Library, not sponsored. If you have a Prime membership, you have access to the Kindle Library where you can read Kindle Unlimited books for free. You have a set number of them and then you just return them and then pick out a new book. Or if you want to support those authors, you can buy the books, or if you're like me and you reread books all the time, I just end up buying the books anyway, and then I reread them. I test out new authors using the library, and then I buy from the authors that I read time and time again. So I wanted to give some recommendations if you are looking for books to read that are on the Kindle, just because, and Amazon, because I think the more access people have to characters that they can relate to, the better. Also, this is a topic that doesn't get discussed that much. Obviously, romance novels, like women reading romance novels on the beach that are like straight novels, it's like not only cliche, but also like a substantial part of what book reviews will say about those books, perfect for the beach. So I thought, why not have like a conversation about gay romance books? I'm not monetized, so it doesn't matter. So there's different like sections, and so I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read and liked and the authors that I like. These are all male or males with multiple partners books. There's some that are bisexual awakenings. There are some that are both gay and out from the beginning. But there's lots of different categories. And what I found really interesting about reading all of these books, and I'm addicted to these books, you can ask Stan, is that they cover themes that are really interesting. So one of the themes that I've been reading a lot more of that I wouldn't have had I not been reading like LGBTQ plus literature has been about disability and romance. So I've read stories where one of the main characters is deaf, or one of the main characters is mute in a different book, or where one of the main characters is blind, or one suffers from PTSD, or a character might have extensive burn scars. A lot of the books also cover topics that are more specific to the LGBTQ plus community, like being kicked out of the house by your parents, or struggles with identity, or sexual awakening, or LGBTQ plus youth homelessness, discrimination in the military, being the victims of violence and homophobic violence and hate crimes. So it's been really interesting, especially because all these books at their core are romance novels, for them to touch on these types of topics. Another topic, a couple of themes that come up a lot in these books are addiction, whether that's alcohol or drugs, or self-harm. Suicide has also come up a bunch. Mental health in general, which is unsurprising considering we know that LGBTQ plus people, especially youth, are more likely to deal with mental health issues than straight cis folk. But anyhow, on to the juicy bits. What do I recommend? So if you're interested in reading about characters that deal with things like homelessness, a few books that I've read that I thought were good are Starting New, which deals with this young guy. He's like 21, and he ends up being sort of helped out after he's assaulted by this like church, like the preacher and his family, and it's kind of deals with being accepting of others, but maybe not being accepting with yourself or with people in your family. And that was pretty interesting, and I thought like very relatable to like my own lived experience in terms of like religion and accepting yourself versus accepting others, and how that went down in my family. Another one is The Sky is Dead. Stay is a really good book. One of the main characters in that book is on the spectrum. And then End of the Line was really interesting. That dealt with like rail riding, which I didn't know anything about prior to this book, but I love learning about different walks of life, and riding the rails is something that it's never like been prevalent, but I found it to be super interesting. On top of being a really good story, the setting was interesting. I also am a big fan of like shows like Criminal Minds and murder mysteries and stuff like that, like thrillers. So if you're into that, I would recommend a couple different authors, Only James and Sloane Kennedy. Only James has a series that is super interesting to me. It might be too gory for some people. It's called Necessary Evils, and it's about this family they're adopted by this guy, and they're all the kids are psychopaths or sociopaths with other things as well, and they were raised to serve vigilante justice. It's super interesting. I really like that series, and it's still coming out. There are 3 books out now, but it's going to continue to grow as a series. And then another book by her that's a little bit less intense, or series by her that's less intense, is Elite Protection Services. Also very good. Sloane Kennedy has a couple, the Protection series and Pelican Bay, that I really like. Or if you're interested less in the vigilante justice area and more in solving a crime, Love Me Again by Max Walker is a sort of almost murder mystery. There's an attempted murder, and they're trying to figure out like who did it, as well as it being a romance novel. It's like very cool. So it's cool to see like, you know, that like a murder mystery, but just with LGBTQ plus characters. So that was a cool book, and there's another book in that series as well. That's the Love Me Again is the first one. But say you're looking for something just like lighter, like a beachy read. Convincing Cole, I really liked. I thought it was very good. It doesn't deal with anything too heavy. It's very realistic. It's a romance novel. There's a sexual awakening aspect to it. And then I won't go on for too much longer, but other themes that you, again, all of these books that are there are on Amazon Prime. You can get them like literally on your phone. That's how I read it. Are like single gay parenting, which has been super interesting to read about, like the logistics of like surrogacy or adoption or taking in nieces and nephews, and that's been really interesting. Another is tattoos. I like tattoos. I like romance novels, but it's a huge theme. So I guess other people also really like tattoos, like people who have a lot of tattoos being with people who don't, or 2 tattooed people together. Whatever floats your boat, whatever suits your fancy, but there's tons. And then there's also like cowboys, which is just so funny to me, because when I think of like romance novels that are straight, like romance novels, that's what always comes to mind. So it's good to know that that also happens in gay romance novels. But anyhow, this is a quick video with some recommended books that I've been reading. I thought I would share with you. If you have any books that you want to recommend me, link them below. Or if you have any stores you want me to check out, I love supporting local bookstores that support the LGBTQ plus community. So leave them below. But anyhow, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of our content, click subscribe, ding the bell button to know when we post. Most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!